Diamond Head Classic from the stand.
And rebounding.
And the opening tip controlled by Davidson. And
I don't think I've ever seen that. I think most guys realize at that point, just hold it and let them get over in the front court. But Davidson playing with a younger group this year than Coach McKillop has had in a while. Going to be a few errors there that we're not used to seeing.
And they commit the second fewest turnovers per game in the country at 9 per game. Only St. Mary's has a better game, actually, than Davidson does. But Davidson, they're banged up coming into this game.
They really are. They came to Hawaii with only 8 scholarship players available. And you see another turnover for Davidson, and maybe it's because we were talking about it, or we should have mentioned it early.
2 and 40 seconds for a team that turns it over just 9 times a game. Starting 5 for New Mexico State. As the Aggies have won 3 in a row entering the Diamond Head Classic. And missing in the...
You know, with foul trouble in the first half, we already mentioned that Davidson was shorthanded.
Lob to the rim inside. Jamario Jones with the put
down at the small forward position for New Mexico State.
Average is better than 11.5 rebounds a game.
Yeah, he's 6 nationally. I mean, when you think about that, you're normally thinking of guys that are 6'10", 6'11", but at 6'5", Jamario Jones just has the will to go after the basketball on both offensive and defensive end.
And also with Davidson, they lead the country in made threes per game. They make 12.5 per game. And way off the mark.
In less than 2 minutes, they've got 3. No, and I saw that number, 1 turnover. I have to ask you, because I know you're going to know this. Has there ever been a team to go a game without a turnover in college basketball history?
Thanks, Bill.
No problem. I mean, I want you to feel comfortable over here. I'm sure that's something.
You're just going to keep beating me up all night, aren't you?
I'm sorry.
Good 3. Pushing the ball, the Wildcats. Kellen Grady, corner 3.
Mickelson gives up a wide-open layup underneath the basket to throw it out for a 3, but that's what the way Davidson loves to play.
B.J. Harris. Here is Aldridge for Davidson. Foul line jumper off the mark from Keyshawn Pritchett, and Davidson with an offensive rebound.
Well, we watched Davidson in practice yesterday doing a lot of work on making sure they have an issue rebounding is for them. It's always going to be something, but then when you think about it, you give up a assist to turnover numbers, the first in the country at 2.2. New Mexico State comes in with the identical numbers, assists and turnovers on the season, so that's definitely...
Often clears the rebound. And you alluded to that opening game for Davidson against Charleston Southern. They made 26 threes in the game. Yes, you heard me correct. An opener against Charleston Southern, which is a Davidson and an A-10 record.
And 2 off of the NCAA record Troy set against George Mason years ago when George Mason was playing the run-and-gun style. You see that
back missed by Grady.
You see that Troy game, though. That was when, I believe, as Paul Westhead was coaching at George Mason, and they were scoring in the hundreds every game. So that one kind of has an asterisk beside it compared to down 26-3.
New Mexico State just 1 of 9 from the field to start the game. Slow start for the Aggies, who score 75 points per game. Will McGarity checks in. Transfer from
21 three-pointers on the year, but yet he's a guy that you have to pay attention to when he carves out his spot on the block.
11th in Davidson history in scoring. Off balance, the floater.
Surprising to see Zach Lofton really hasn't been very aggressive thus far in this game, looking for a shot. Another young man who's a big-time scorer, 19.5 a game for him. Rarely would you see the leading scorer go 4+ minutes to start a game off without a shot attempt.
Aldridge from deep, second. Reverse layup, nice bench for New Mexico State.
And that's where the advantage will be for New Mexico State in this game. They have to make sure they try to get the ball inside early and often against this Davidson defense.
Will McGarity steps out for the 3. Not only advantage there inside, Corey, but depth-wise as well.
5.5 minutes as a leading scorer, but hasn't had a shot yet for Lofton, and that was a bit forced. And I'm sure it's not one his coaches want to see him take, but yet they want him to be able to
start. They're 9-2 coming into the tournament.
You see Davidson come out of the timeout. AJ Harris is able to find his way into the paint, and that's the way you have to attack a zone. Don't just stand around and shoot jump shots, especially when that's not the strong characteristic of your team. Still try to get into that paint.
Peyton Aldridge steps out, misses the three, and junior from France.
You know, we had an interesting story Coach Jans told us yesterday about when he first got the job, having to really re-recruit. Sitting the Deer was probably his main priority. The redshirt sophomore, he felt like he was on his way out the door after already having played for two coaches in his New Mexico State career. So therefore now, opportunity to make himself at home.
And think about that for Indir and the players that have been in the program in New Mexico State for a while. Corey, 3 coaches in 3 years. With Marvin Menzies, who's now at UNLV. Paul Weir, who was the coach, succeeded Menzies for 1 season, and then I think ruffled a lot of feathers.
I believe it was a bit more than that as we. And so that's been his only college coaching job, but he has made himself a home in that community, and of course in the ranks, 23rd on the active D1 coaching list as far as wins, and very well respected coach throughout the coaching fraternity.
537 Seesaws in front. It was tipped into the backcourt. Rusty Regal goes to reclaim it. And a corner three off the mark from Keyshawn Pritchett. And the rebound run down by Regal. Three from the top. No good from John Axel.
Good three off of a offensive rebound. Goodison unable to knock that one down. But Davidson really has survived with their three-point shooting, knocking down 3 already. But New Mexico State doesn't seem to have any problem navigating the Davidson defense and operating very smoothly on their offensive end of the floor.
And a three rattles out. Second three for the Aggies, who've scored 6 straight. They're up by 5. Another turnover. Indir racing up the floor. It seemed at PNF.
The City of Deer has gotten off to a great start here in this game. 5 points already. Finding his way to the rim off of a beautiful feed and a reverse layup. And then an opportunity on the perimeter, knocks down the three-pointer. But we basketball as the point guard. A little bit of pressure by New Mexico State. They feel as though they can get into
his first, and that's the first call against New Mexico State.
Well, that's my mistake. Goodison was actually on the floor. He just wasn't handling the basketball.
They go in.
And McGarity really, as a 6'11" guy, does most of his damage on the perimeter. But that's a welcome sign from Coach McKillop to see him actually operating on the block.
Davidson. John Axel Goodmanson.
Concern yourself with, you don't really worry about the guy guarding you. No help there. He knew he could beat his man. To talk with John Axel yesterday, and I asked him, I said, what did you want, especially when you play for a coach like Bob McKillop, who runs some of the best stuff in the country, yet you players handling the basketball. I'm sure Coach McKillop feels as though Goodmanson may receive a bit too much pressure from these guards of the Aggies, so therefore he's allowing his 2 and 3 both to be able to bring the basketball up the floor.
McGarity has it taken away.
Injury to see him get out on the break and his knee buckle. So good to see him back on the floor. We have to keep an eye on him, see how well he's moving. And more importantly, in the second half, if that knee stiffens up.
I don't know. We're in Hawaii. I don't know if it'll stiffen up over here.
Great point.
Deep three. Way off.
Mario Jones, though, recognizing the shot clock running down and who had the basketball, contested that shooting hand of Aldridge throwing that shot off. You don't see Peyton Aldridge shoot air balls often.
Zach Lofton's been quiet so far. 5 to shoot. Here is Lofton. Deep three on the way. Oh.
And that's an advantage for Aldridge all day. When you've got a big guy trying to guard you, he has to put them in drive. But a great defensive job there by Wilkins to contest the shot at the rim.
Off balance, and Deere can't Pritchett.
Not that Davidson's not always looking for Aldridge, but with Wilkins guarding him, because Davidson's lineup is a small lineup and Aldridge at the 5 spot, ways to get Aldridge on the move and make Wilkins chase him off the screen.
Lofton.
Right about Lofton scoring. Then Lofton was.
Mishandled.
And it's Zach Lofton finding it.
Coming into the ball game, Davidson turning it over just 9 times per game. And they've already given it away 7 times in the first half.
And it got off to a bad start, throwing it into the backcourt on the opening tip when you win the tip, and it's pretty much just gone downhill from there. McGarity in the post.
Coast State, the winner of this game, moving to the semifinals and play either number 6 Miami or the host Hawaii Rainbow Warriors tomorrow night in the semis. The lob, it won't go for Johnny McCants, who tracks it down. That's our final quarterfinal matchup to come after this one here from Honolulu. Darting to the basket.
That's the first thing you see as a guard is how that big man is playing it. That's the only thing you're looking at is when he saw Aldridge get higher than his defender.
Cutting to the basket, the layup falls off for Peyton Aldridge.
And a great setup, just unable to finish it. And those are the baskets, if you're Peyton Aldridge, you need to be able to finish for your teammates, because it's not going to be easy for Davidson to score against this New Mexico.
7 straight for the Aggies.
You know, Racha mentioned that the Aggies come in with 156 assists and 156 turnovers. That is the characteristic of a team that knows how to make a lot of individual plays. Davidson shares the basketball very well, which is why they assist on 60% of their field goals. But for New Mexico State, they just have guys that know how to go out there and just go get a bucket.
Davidson's been scoreless for 4.5 minutes now. Losing the ball and doing a good job and forcing turnovers again. We keep harping on it, but that's something just that Davidson doesn't do.
Yeah, and Davidson could have their season average, and that was a turnover there. They didn't call on Garrett. He dragged his left foot into the travel. So that would have been the 8th turnover.
It's in the All-State Sugar Bowl for the Superdome in New Orleans.
And I know you won it, but I can tell you right now, for the record, I did predict everything that was going to happen last year. So, you know, I'm looking pretty good right now with my football.
All right, Nostra Corey.
I like that. I might have to add that to my Twitter handle.
Davidson has been scoreless now for over 5 minutes. And they'll
to that New Mexico State line.
One more for Goodmanson, 1 of 2 at the line.
4, it does take a little bit more of a toll on your body, especially when you're playing in humid places. So, you know, whenever you can get that opportunity to get Aldridge a rest, I'm sure Coach McKillop will try to do it.
But it's been a little unseasonably cool for Honolulu.
Because you live in California. I mean,
no, I'm just saying, even by Honolulu State.
Those of us that are from the East Coast, I don't care if it's raining. It's beautiful here.
I'm not saying it's not beautiful. Don't go there.
I've been too bad on the boards versus the Mexico State team. That's their strength. But the thing that I'm sure Coach McKillop expected for his team to do coming into this game, they have not been able to do, which is execute offensively.
And not.
Okay, so I'm going to give you some trivia. Kellen Grady was the first freshman, was second ever freshman to score 20-point games in consecutive games. What Davidson freshman was the first to do so?
Well, the immediate reaction is Steph Curry.
Right.
Which is probably wrong.
Hey, are you not going to choose Steph Curry?
I'm not, because I don't think he's the correct answer.
Okay. Then who is?
Trent.
And that offensive rebounding once again for New Mexico State starting to come into play. I'm still waiting on your answer, by the way.
Rusty. No, I'm trying to think of the great scorers like Jack Gibbs,
Oh, yeah.
from Davidson.
That'd be a great guess. Wouldn't be right, but it'd be.
Under an OKC. All 4 games also available on the ESPN app. You know, I'm going to say it's not Steph.
Okay. All right.
And it's not Jack Gibbs.
Okay.
And
it was the great John Gurdy. You would have never guessed that
no,
one.
I wasn't even in the same zip code.
John Gurdy was a bucket at Davidson.
Bounces
court and running around very well, being able to operate after what looked like a scary injury on the break earlier in the half. Now that's Davidson basketball. Design execution.
So after going over 6 minutes without a field goal, Davidson's made their last 4 shots and are within 3. A.J. Harris missing.
For the record right now, John Gurdy is at home like, yeah, you're talking about me, not Steph Curry.
Aldridge off on the 3. See, I didn't want to do a disservice to Gurdy by picking somebody else because I knew it wasn't Steph or Jack Gibbs. Goodmanson open for 3.
And they're them offensively in this first half.
Corner 3, and that one.
Making it now a 2-possession game. Davidson here looks as though they're going to hold it for the last shot of the half. As close as they can get with only a second and a half between the shot clock and the game clock.
Taken away by Johnny McCants. Can the Aggies get a shot off? A.J. Harris to the bucket. Classic New Mexico State.
This great offensive team come out and turn the basketball over and not get opportunities to put points on the board.
Tough shot that rolls in. Climbed over and in for Jonathan Wilkins on an awkward-looking hook shot.
And Wilkins actually getting the start and playing more minutes than Eli Chuha, who was an all-conference preseason selection this year for second team in the WAC. So when you think about that, that's something that, give Wilkins credit for that. But I think a lot of it has to do with a little bit of a change of philosophy from Coach Jans, because he wanted Wilkins scoring on the court. Rebounding prowess of Chua coming into the season.
A.J. Harris with that shot right before time ran out in the first half. As Jamario
Jones not taking the 3, although there was an opportunity.
It's an 8-point game at the half, and New Mexico State has scored the first 4 points here in the second half. And again, a shorthanded team is Davidson battling injuries. Only 8 healthy as 8.
And you mentioned those two, those guys. There's 4 actual scholarship players that they had.
Gordon Watkins didn't even make the trip here to Honolulu. Wilkins has a remark.
New Mexico State doing a very good job getting back. There's only been one opportunity for Goodmanson to actually be able to push the basketball in transition and find his way to the rim, and he was able to do that for an and 1. And Coach Jans making sure he got to his team and taking care of that business.
Keyshawn Pritchett, the floater. 8-point game. Jamario Jones missing an open. Pritchett drives. Gets the call.
And rebounding. To take advantage of anything with Jones.
Scored 6 straight to cut a 12-point lead in half. Shot clock at 10. Eli Chua. Up and under move.
But the play's not over once the shot goes up. You have to come away with the defensive rebound, and that's what Chua just wanted the basketball. The second jump to get it up on the glass. Forces Grady to be the primary ball handler, bringing the ball to the floor in comparison to Goodmanson. And Coach Jans talked to us about really the transition, because not only did they had a 20-game winning streak, and they won 28 games. So he's coming in basically trying to win over guys who have had success doing it their way. And he said that was a struggle for them early in the season. Exhibition game, they got beat. This is a team that would get beat by 40 by Houston. They look very good out here this afternoon. Evening, I would have to say.
A.J. Harris with the three as New Mexico State has matched their largest lead. We came in, it was still afternoon. It's now nighttime.
Yeah, you know, who keeps track of time when you're here anyway?
That's true. Or what day it is.
Yeah.
Aldridge. But New Mexico State actually finished second in the WAC last year. Bakersfield won the league title, but then it was New Mexico State that won the WAC tournament at the Orleans Arena in Vegas. Cleared by Goodmanson. Davidson looks to run. 4 on 3. Goodmanson will at the line. Didn't sit well with a lot of people. And
part about it, if you're a New Mexico State fan, not only has Coach Jans swept New Mexico already this year, but also UTEP, becoming the first time that a first-year head coach has swept both rivals, you know, in his first season. And it's really kind of strange that you actually play both those teams home.
For Paul Weir, New Mexico, and then with UTEP and Tim Floyd just shockingly retiring after the minor.
I don't think anyone listening to us is so concerned about Coach Weir's tough year, though.
No, I don't think so. Unless he's watching.
Feed.
The winner of this game will play the winner of Hawaii against Miami, which is our final quarterfinal matchup.
The way Davidson's going to be able to get back and make this a game is if they can come proficient from beyond the three-point arc, which they're used to doing. But they've got to also find a way to stop New Mexico State, who is very comfortable on their offensive end of the floor right now.
Shot clock rolling down, and a steal for John Axel Goodmanson to the basket. Counted.
New Mexico State doing it with nifty passing and great execution, getting the ball to the weak side. No one taking the count for the man slipping to the rim. And on the other end of the floor, John Axel Goodman, he finds an open lane and finishes. So then a 6-0 run puts New Mexico State back up, and just like that, it's a 5-point game. You can never count this Davidson Wildcat team out simply because they're so good offensively.
Again, shot clock winding down. Up and under from McCants.
Goodmanson continues to what we like to call as a point guard, probe the floor, see what's available for him. Nothing there on the edge. And this is one of the ways that Jack Gibbs did it best, finding open spots beyond the three-point line and knocking it down.
A 12-point lead not too long ago.
And I noticed how much time you spent here on the islands because you know how to say Hawaii the proper way. See, I say it the way mainlanders say it. But you know how to say it like Kanoa Leahy says it.
Hawaii.
You know, yeah, see, I can't do that.
They're going to keep sending me back here every year. I'm not going to complain.
Come up with the block on that possession.
Loose, diving for it in Deer, and New Mexico State the steal. A.J. Harris. McCants tracks it down, and the Aggies will back it out.
But New Mexico State really fortunate to get this basketball back. That's one A.J. Harris has to give up. Tua was running really hard. You got to reward the big fella when he's running that hard down the floor.
City and Deer missed it right there.
Yeah.
Here's Zach Lofton, who has been quiet, only 4 points tonight.
But he's had a lot of help from his friends. I mean, that's the thing with this New Mexico State team. They have a lot of talent. Chris Jans was sure to tell us that yesterday. You know, talent is not their problem at all.
Shot clock at 10. And it double.
Themselves to go out and make an individual play in comparison to trusting the offense and creating shots for their teammates.
Peyton Aldridge lines it up. And the rebound tipped out of bounds by Davidson Eastern Time, right here from Honolulu. Along with Villanova, still undefeated.
Who is the best undefeated team in the country, by the way.
You think?
I do believe so. Villanova is special. I mean, when you look at their guard play with Mikal Bridges and what he's been able to do this year, gives them a different dimension. Amari Spellman in the middle. Villanova, and I like Miami, no question about it, but Miami hasn't played nearly the schedule that Villanova has.
This is surprising. It's TCU, Jamie Dixon's team.
Yeah,
still undefeated.
Well, and Jamie Dixon did a great job at TCU last season, so this is really just a carryover of his guys learning his system even more so. But what Bobby Hurley is doing at Arizona State, in my opinion, is probably the biggest surprise, because he's doing it with 3 small guards out there, but they play huge.
The block from Peyton Aldridge. But 3 senior guards with Trey Holder, Shannon Evans, and Cody Justice. Inside, they've rallied from 12 down here in the second half to pull even as Davidson on a 13-2 run.
Davidson Wildcats getting it done on the offensive end of the floor, but also Peyton Aldridge, the best player, getting it done defensively, coming up with a huge block shot that leads to the beautiful feed from Gudmundson to McGarity in the middle to team from the Davidson Wildcats after a very uncharacteristic 10 turnovers in the first half, and they found their way right back into this game.
Aldridge!
And by the way, that we mentioned that they have the best assist to turnover ratio in the country and a 3rd nationally in assists at 19 a game, and you see the beautiful pass by Pritchett to find Peyton Aldridge.
79%. And a 16-2 run. And again, they've rallied from 12 down here in the second half, and there's still 9:20 to go.
And you have to think about the fact, how long has Jones been on the bench?
Alan John, Axel Gudmundson, his first.
He finally got that foul, huh? He's been asking for it.
He asked for it. He tried to get one. They wouldn't give it to him. Shot clock winding down.
With Mickelson having to go to the bench.
A.J. Harris.
He's working on a double-double himself.
Aldridge. A foul.
Treat out and get to Peyton Aldridge on the perimeter because they know how great he shoots the basketball. I'm sorry, that's the big, put himself in a position.
Scored 20 or more in each of the last 4 games. Largest lead of the game for the Wildcats. 9-0 run and an 18-2 run over the last 5.5 minutes. Unable to finish after a good post move by Johnny McCants, and then a turnover. Davidson has come out, Corey, and looked like a different team here in the second half as McGarity.
Their passes are being completed. They're throwing the ball to the guys in red, not the opposing team, or throwing them out of bounds.
10 turnovers in the first half, only 1 here in the second. Inside to Wilkins and misses. And there's Aldridge hustling for the loose ball. Cats have scored 11 straight.
And great passing is part of the reason why. John Axel Gudmundson finding Will McGarity, the Boston College transfer, getting it done for the Davidson. Tuned in with it on the Watch ESPN app. But the combination of the two, I couldn't stop. Let me tell you a little bit about Trey Young. You know who his teammate was? One Michael Porter Jr. Can you imagine the combination?
Peyton Aldridge to the line, fouls Trey Young, Marvin Bagley.
February 27th. Trey Young, Colin Sexton. That is must-see TV.
Deep three from Kellen Grady. There's Will McGarity hustling.
Offensive rebound. If you're Davidson right now, bring it out. Make sure you get a quality shot. Got the ball in the hands of the right guy in Gudmundsson, and he from him. And that's a shot in Bob McKillop's offense that he wants to see his point guard taking.
Somehow New Mexico State needs to get this guy going, Zach Lofton.
Well, and you know, give Davidson credit for paying him so much attention on their defensive end. There have been a number of other guys. Lofton's going to have to get going if they want to be able to win this game. Nice hesitation player. Rusty Regal, the senior captain, coming in, but just like that, an offensive rebound given up with the lack of size on the glass for Davidson.
Eli Chua elevating over everybody is a three off the mark.
6'10", maybe 6'11". Normally you have guys size.
Aldridge, well, what's that line from Fletch? He's 6'4", but 6'9" with the afro.
Dude, please give the afro 2 to 3 inches. But look who he's out here guarding. Guarding Regal because they want to make sure they keep one of their top defenders.
The scoop. The leaner won't.
Here was taking Aldridge on that position. They don't want Chua having to guard him on the perimeter. Especially with Jamario Jones on the bench with the 4 fouls.
Chua's open. Fires and hits.
Jams.
But
after what Chua did last year and what I'm seeing from him right now, I think that guy should be in the starting lineup. Maybe he likes him better, giving him a spark off the bench, but he looks like a starter to me.
And a read is who finishes, right?
That is more important, who finishes the game. But I can tell you right now, since Chua has become more assertive here in this second half, the New Mexico State Aggies have gotten back.
1-1 for Keyshawn Pritchett. And the winner will get the winner.
Which is a tough task for anyone, but definitely a tough task when you're undersized.
Sidi Ndir, tough still.
And good to see Ndir back operating smoothly after what looked like a scary situation for him in the first half.
How big are those 2 points now? When it appeared his knee buckled and he was home free for a layup and just lost the ball out of bounds.
It's like Peyton Aldridge in college basketball this year. An unbelievable three-point shooter, but maybe even better with his back to the basket.
5 straight 20-point games now for Aldridge. 22 in this one. And Ndir has his shot blocked. Shot clock at 10. John Axel Gudmundsson. McGarity from deep. And the rebounds. Inside 3.5 minutes to play. Lofton missing the three. And in foul trouble here in the second half. Jamario Jones now coming back with his 4 fouls. He's vital to what the Aggies do.
And Jamario Jones got the game started off with the offensive rebound to put back and then scoring in the paint. And more importantly, what he does, he's their best defender. So he was taking on the challenge of guarding Peyton Aldridge and really making the second half in foul trouble as now he checks back into the game for this crucial stretch.
New Mexico State only shooting 33% in the second half, while Davidson at 55% since the break. And Davidson's done a better job of going inside points. It's an after just 6 in the first half.
And New Mexico State coming out of the timeout in a zone defense, and a lot of that, I'm sure, to protect Jones from picking up that 5th foul. But you have to account for Peyton Aldridge, especially if he's the guy in the middle of the zone.
Tough three from Keon Jones, who has a career high of 11 points.
And for the absence of Zach Lofton scoring in this game, Keon Jones has stepped up and made big shots for the Aggies.
Cuts the lead in half. 2:10 remaining. Shot clock at 5. Knocked away. Zach Lofton lays it.
Give him credit, not having the offensive game that he wanted, but not giving up on the defensive end of the floor.
Will McGarity.
Garrity wasn't very strong with the basketball in the first half. A number of those turnovers were at his fault, but that time a very strong move to the rim.
He's tied his season high with 8. Keon Jones on the drive. Jones somehow spins it up and in. Wildcats clinging to a 1-point lead. Here's another look at Keon Jones.
And Jones has done a great job attacking the rim. As you see him go up and finish, comes down into the leg of Peyton Aldridge. Fortunate that neither of those guys were injured after that play. That's a tough hit for Aldridge to be able to take that, especially when you're unsuspecting someone flying into his foot off the ground.
Keon Jones checks out, and Deere comes in for him. Here's Aldridge.
That's just ISO play to get him the side to be able to operate one-on-one and give Jones credit for getting the job done defensively once again on one of the country's best players in Peyton Aldridge.
Zach Lofton drives. The runner. Lofton follows.
He was going to need to step up. Was able to get it done on the defensive end, coming up with the steal, and then here, finding his way to the rim. Unable to finish on the first one, but finish to give the Aggies the lead.
This one has to go back to Aldridge, right?
Of course. I mean, you know, he's the guy. Now, Goodmanson capable.
Poked free, out of bounds. Aldridge to the basket.
To call the timeout because he knows he has something designed to get the ball in the hands of his best player.
A.J. Harris. Recovered by Lofton. In the lane, Lofton at the rim.
You have to think about Peyton Aldridge on the other end of the floor, getting it done for his team in crunch time. Just put the ball in the hands of your best player and allow him to operate. And Jamario Jones attacking the offensive glass. Hands of Goodmanson. Now Peyton Aldridge could be the guy receiving the basketball back.
Goodmanson has it knocked away. Diving for it is Jamario Jones.
Because if you allow New Mexico State to call that timeout, it's pretty much game over. Goodmanson there and give Jamario Jones once again so much credit, not only for chasing the bat.
Here's Aldridge for the win. New Mexico State hangs on